Guys, I have the joy today of having Barnabas Piper. He's written several different books. One of those books I actually have with me here today is Curious Christian. And then he also has written Help My Unbelief. And then you're in the process of writing another book as well. Is that correct?
I am. As of last week, I just turned in the final edits for it, so it's off to print now, which is exciting. It's called Hoping for Happiness.
Oh, amen. So every single Friday, just to give a background, every single Friday, I allow my students to ask me any theological or biblical question at all. And a question came up, and it actually relates to your book. So I thought I would invite you on and ask you this question and see if you can just provide some of your thoughts on this. So the question one of the students asked was, is it sinful to have doubts of their faith or sinful to have doubts in their faith as a Christian?
And that's a really good question. So whichever of you asked it, thank you for asking it. And for those of you who were afraid to ask it because it's kind of a nerve-wracking question, totally understand that. It's hard to bring up doubts and put them into words because especially in a church context, we feel like we should have the answers and feel like we should be confident in what we believe. So that's a really important question to ask. So thank you for that. There's not a simple answer to it. I know the easiest thing is to either say yes, it is sinful, or no, it's not sinful. But those are too simplistic, I think. I think that the first we need to think about something very important, and that is having doubts just means we're not sure of something at its base level. So it just means I'm not totally sure about that. So like if you get in a car and it sounds like it's about to stall out, you're not going to be totally sure that car is going to get you where you're going. That's reasonable doubt. You're like, I'm not confident in this. That's just sort of a doubt that is like, I don't know about this. Now, doubts about God are a little bit different because doubts about God are, we're doubting the ruler of the universe who has given us his word that tells us everything we need to know about him. But at the same time, they're pretty reasonable in some ways because we can't see God. And so that's an easy breeding ground for doubt when there's areas that we can't see and we can't recognize all the time. And because God is bigger than our understanding. So right now, like the reason y'all are watching this video is because you can't go to school. The reason I'm recording this video is because y'all can't go to school and because I'm stuck at home too, because there's this massive virus that has just shut down the country and huge portions of the world. It's a really normal thing to wonder, what is God doing in all of this? How does this work? Where's God as the ruler, as the one who's in charge of all this, as sovereign? And so that's when we have to remember that God is bigger than our understanding. We can't go to God and say, you're doing this wrong, because that's not how I would do it. We need to go to God and say, I don't understand how you're doing this because you're bigger than my questions. You're bigger than what I understand. You're bigger than my mind and you're bigger than my imagination. And so that's where a lot of doubts live too, because when something is beyond our understanding, it takes faith to say, I don't understand it, but I know that it's right. And that's essentially what the Bible calls us to, is it describes and depicts God as infinite and as perfect and as holy and as, how does the Bible say? His knowledge is too wonderful for us. He is the Alpha and the Omega, so he's outside of time. Like even trying to describe God, we run out of words. So if that's the kind of God that we're trusting in, it makes sense that we would go, I just don't get it. But we have to live inside of that and say, I don't get it, but I know that what God says is true. I know that when he says he'll never leave us or forsake us, he means never. And when he says, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand, he means it. He's got us. And when he says he'll hold on to the sheep who are part of his fold, he won't let us away, that means he's going to hold us secure. And when he says nothing can separate us from the love of God, that means nothing. And so you have these definitive promises that you hold on to even when you have doubts and don't understand. So to circle back around to the question, is doubt a sin? It's only a sin if it's pushing you, excuse me, if it's pushing you to a place of saying, I don't understand and I don't believe. If it's pushing you to a place of, I don't understand, but I want to trust, then your doubt is not a sin. It's just being a human, and it can actually lead you further into faith.